This book is called The Halloween Class by Peter Maloney and Felicia Zukowskas. The Halloween Class. And it's a chapter book, so this shows what the different chapters are and what they are called and what page number you can find them on. Do you see the numbers? Chapter 1, A Scary Class. Mrs. Robinson walked into her classroom. She couldn't believe her eyes. All of her students, Peter and Felicia, Toby and Rich, Russ, DeLuca, and everyone else were gone. Instead, there were wizards and witches, ghosts and goblins, pirates and princesses, and there was one empty seat. I must be in the wrong room, said Mrs. Robinson. Then she saw the calendar on the wall. It was October 31st. You scared me, said Mrs. Robinson. I forgot today was Halloween. Chapter 2 is called Who's Who. Let's see if I can guess who's who, said Mrs. Robinson. I'll close my eyes. Everyone change seats. Mrs. Robinson closed her eyes and slowly counted to 10. All the children switched places. Okay, said Mrs. Robinson. Let's see who's who. She looked at the monster in the first row. Russ DeLuca, she said. The Cupid in the bow with the bow and arrows, that's Felicia. And the fireman in the third row, that's Rich. Mrs. Robinson went up and down each row. Wow, you're good, said Toby. Chapter 3, How did you do that? Mrs. Robinson had guessed that Toby was the ladybug in the back row. How did you know it was me? Toby asked. The costumes we choose tell a lot about us, Mrs. Robinson said. I know how much you like bugs, Toby. It was easy to guess that you might dress up as one. How did you guess me? Asked Felicia. Your bow gave you away, said Mrs. Robinson. My bow? Said Felicia. I thought Cupids always carried a bow. I meant your hair bow. Mrs. Robinson laughed. You always wear one. Chapter 4, Someone's Missing. Mrs. Robinson was perfect. She guessed everyone except for one. Where's Peter? She asked. I don't see him anywhere. I saw him walking to school today, said Russ DeLuca. He was dressed in white bandages from head to toe. I think he was a mummy. He wasn't a mummy, said Felicia. He was the what? Asked Mrs. Robinson. I can't say, said Felicia. I promised Peter that I wouldn't tell anyone. Look, cried Toby. Everyone turned around. A pile of white bandages lay by an empty desk. Then everyone turned to look at Felicia. Felicia, I think you should tell us what you know, said Mrs. Robinson. Sometimes it's more important to break a promise than to keep it. Chapter 5, The Invisible Boy. Oh, all right, said Felicia. Peter was the invisible boy, shouted a voice that came out of nowhere. Everyone stared at the pile of bandages. What was that? Cried Toby. I am the invisible boy, repeated the voice. Mrs. Robinson looked shocked. Russ DeLuca's mouth dropped open, and everyone looked a little scared. Peter, where are you? Asked Mrs. Robinson. Why can't we see you? You can't see me, said the voice, because I am the invisible boy. That's enough, said Mrs. Robinson. The invisible boy is make-believe. Please show yourself right now. Okay, said the voice. Suddenly, the doors to the coat closet opened. There was Peter. That was some trick, young man, said Mrs. Robinson. You scared me more than all the wizards, witches, ghosts, and goblins in this room. Chapter 6, How did you do that? After school, Peter and Felicia walked home together. How did you make yourself disappear? Felicia asked. It was easy, said Peter. If you give me some of your gummy bears, I'll show you. Sure, said Felicia. She opened her backpack and started digging for gummy bears. When she looked up, Peter was gone. Peter, where are you? She shouted. I'm right here, boomed the voice. I am the invisible boy. Felicia couldn't believe her eyes. Peter had disappeared again. Then Felicia saw a red sneaker. It was poking out from behind a bush. "Are you sure you're invisible?" asked Felicia. "That's what I said," boomed the voice. "Then this shouldn't bother you," she said. Felicia jumped in the air and landed on the red sneaker. "Ouch!" cried Peter. He leaped out from behind the bush, hopping up and down on one foot. "I guess I had that coming," said Peter. "Either you had it coming," said Felicia, "or the invisible boy did." The end.